Hello, guys, and welcome back to Politics Matter. On behalf of Communications, we apologize for the delay. Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you'll join in on the conversation. Our phone lines will be open, and the number to call in is 1-587-602-4293. Before we begin today, you can head on over to our website, communications-inc.org, to subscribe for our mailing list and to stay up to date with our next live events and our available merchandise, and we are also available for bookings. Please don't hesitate to contact us at any time. We have merchandise that is available through our website, Shopify, Patreon, and Amazon. You can contact us at any time. We are here to help with any questions. We are also here to give you, our listeners, and our customers the best week. Please help me welcome back our guest, Federico Milano, who is here to join us today. Thank you for joining us today.
Sure. No problem. There's many things that have been developing in the last few weeks since our last edition, and almost have not changed whatsoever, and that is the genocidal policy of Israel against the Palestinian people, and the non-solution of the two states, even though many people in different parliaments in the United States and England still believe that the solution is for Hamas to return the people that have been kidnapped, whomever is left, a little more than 130, I believe it is right now, 131, out of the more than 200 that were taken on October the 7th. So Israel has a leverage with the United States and the UK and Spain and all the European countries that are sending weapons, despite the fact that has been corroborated day after day after day after October 8th, that and after the 6,000 bombs that were sent on Palestine in the first week of the counterattack, let's say, or the continuation of the occupation of Israel to the Palestinian people. Not much had changed in that sense. On the contrary, with the attack of Israel to the Syrian consulate, Iranian consulate in Syria, I cleared this. It's nothing but a provocation of Iran. Like I said before, I said it over the years, it's Iran who is going to be tempted to fight Israel, because Israel is looking for picking up a fight for decades against Iran, because they keep on saying the propaganda that Israel is always right and the rest of the world is wrong. Israel has the right to defend itself and the rest of the world does not. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East and the rest of the world has to support them. And all the lies that we see over and over again, supported by Mr. Sullivan, the Secretary of State, Lloyd Austin, and Department of Defense, and all these people, that says just recently this week that the United States don't see how Israel have committed genocide. Despite the decision of the International Court of Justice to say that it's plausible that Israel is committing crimes of genocide, which we, the citizens of the world, are protesting all around the world because it's true. It is genocide, and it is not according to my opinion, but according to the document of 1948, which everybody should know by now, which is the Convention on the Crime and Punishment, the Convention on the Prevention of the and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide of 1948, so to which Israel is signatory, because all these documents that were born after the creation of the United Nations, the CIA in 47, the United Nations in 48 and 49, where Israel complies and signs as member of the United Nations and as a free state created the year before, that it will respect and abide by the international laws is being established after the Nuremberg trials, which were against the crimes committed by Germany against the Jewish people. And in many orders, we find that there's also derived from these Nuremberg trials not only the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Genocide, and 48, but also the Nuremberg trial begot the Ten Commandments that are all countries are obliged to abide to, and that is the prohibition to use medicine and pharmaceuticals in order to be used in patients without their patients' consent, which is a case we made in the program React Today as part of the World's Way Out project as an initiative in order to demonstrate how the pandemic and the corporations have evaded responsibility regarding this decalogue created after the Nuremberg trials regarding the abuses that can be produced by doctors and medicine, disregarding human rights and disregarding the rights of every citizen to be informed, as we mentioned with detail in that program. A corollary of the horrors of the First and especially the Second World War after the Holocaust. But now that Israel is committing a Holocaust, a literal Holocaust, we have seen it with our own eyes, the level of destruction, the attack on the hospitals, the persecution of children, the testimony of doctors and nurses, and how children are being directly attacked by snipers in the head, shot twice in the head, shot twice in the stomach, in the abdomen, the amputation of the limbs of the minors of 5 years old or less. It's just on the weekly basis going up, and the testimonies, the videos that we have seen over TikTok and other platforms is just striking. It's evident that it's not plausible according to the International Court of Justice, but it is a genocide on the run, and with total impunity, as is customary for more than 100 years to treat Israel like if it has a crown in this world and nobody can touch it. Not even monarchs have such impunity. We see the monarch of Spain being condemned for corruption because of his hierarchy on the powers that control Spain, in which the king is above the law. So he committed acts of corruption, he appropriated billions of pounds, etc., and he cannot be touched. That cannot happen in a world that it proclaims to defend democracy, and a world guided by the United States, European Union, that pretend to be the only political solution and ways to the world in order for the world to be a civilization, which has been demonstrated over the last since the Second World War, since the end of the Second World War. I will dare to say, since 1945, more than 100 interventions by the United States of America, with awful results to the countries and to their economies. Nothing but poverty and debt with the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. If we talk about what's going on in Ukraine and Russia, we have seen that the death toll, comparatively with what Israel and its occupying forces are doing in Gaza, is 10 to 1. Israel has destroyed in a proportion of 10 to 1 what Russia has destroyed in Ukraine in 2 years. So the assassination of journalism, more than 100 journalists, the assassination of United Nations workers, the assassination, as I predicted to you on React Today, that the Israel people do not believe in anybody else but themselves, and everybody else is to serve them, and they can kill Europeans, Switzerland's, Canadians, Americans, whomever they please, because that's their right. And that's a stupidity between the separation and church and state that has American believers so ignorant and manipulable that they will defend Israel with their own lives, because they're that stupid that they cannot understand that in the Old Testament as in the New Testament, the argument for Israel that we have things in common with Christians have been defeated for centuries. But it's a new trend that was guided by the Second World War and the almost unbeatable propaganda machine that Israel have had over literature, over editorials, over communication systems, over mainstream media, so big that it is impossible that 75 years later Germany still are in their knees begging for the pardon of the rest of the world, humiliating its own people in this insane career to pretend to be the responsible of the Holocaust. Well, we are watching a Holocaust in front of our eyes running in Gaza, and you're not supposed to say anything because the mainstream media, well, the world had enough.
Exactly, and considering how many people there were before they were attacked to how many there are now.
You're talking about Palestine?
Palestinians who went from the Gaza Strip to Rafah and are still being attacked.
Yes, I'm in the north. They were supposed to run. Oh, Israel. What we are seeing here is the destruction of all the conventions and all the international treaties and all what we built over the decades after the Second World War, and I say maybe a century ago with the First World War, because the First World War, it was supposed to be the war to end all wars. That's how it was called, because it was supposed to end all wars and the understanding between European interests and imperial interests of the British, which were many, and with France, of course. We have talked about this many, many times when in 1917 the Balfour Declaration, and we have to clear here for our audience here that the Balfour Declaration was a convenient situation because of the war that the British Empire was losing against the Ottoman Empire and against Germany and against Hungary, which was the Central Powers in those days. And once they, I quote unquote, won the war, because Germany was winning the war after the intervention of the United States, things changed. All the countries that were promised land sovereignty and independence were betrayed by the empires of, as always, the British, the French, and the Americans. All the land that was taken by the mandates of under Britain and the mandate under France were land that was the land of the Arab states that wanted independence from the Ottoman Empire. So the British and the French betrayed all of them and give the land to the newcomers. Some rich guy show up, and Mr. Balfour gave a declaration no less than the Rothschild, Lord Rothschild, a super trillionaire by the time, that bought influence in Russia and influence in the United Kingdom, to the point that we have today different and parallel economies running the countries like United States, England, France, Germany, Luxembourg, etc. Why I say parallel is because it is an economy of the rich that have their own states. The city of London, it's an own state. It has its own policemen, it has its own authorities, and it doesn't apply to the city, the rest of the city of London. It's very exclusive, and it's only for bankers and owners of enormous capitals, like of course the Rothschild family is, and others like the Carnegies, the Cargill Group, the DuPonts, all these people that for centuries have amassed immense capital and power to bribe, to corrupt politicians, and to guarantee their careers and move them like puppets whenever they please. If you saw my last video on React Today as part of the World Wide Project, you will remember Bernie Sanders speaking just on January this year on the Ivy League universities to confirm what I just said.
And most of them are all Freemasons.
That's another point. And if we're going to talk about something I wasn't planning to talk about, but when you mentioned the Freemasons and associations like the Illuminati and all these groups, yeah, those guys exist. This is not new. This is...
Yeah, and when you look at all the political leaders, the presidents, the prime ministers, they're all Freemasons. They come from the Freemasonry line.
In the case of the United States, apparently some research and investigations have proven that the bloodline of the presidents in the United States, including Barack Obama, have something to do with a bloodline that comes from the hierarchy of the Europeans and the Saxon understanding that the rich are the only people prepared enough, educated enough to understand the real problems of humanity. Hence, we have to abide by them, but they have to act on a soft manner, which is supposed to be invisible, and that's why they buy and sell politicians like the Labour Party in England that was totally destroyed by the manipulation of the Jewish state, and now is run by the Jewish state. And by the Jewish state, I mean the invisible hand of brute capital that donors and super rich people are taking over the world. it never has been like this. I mean, the power of brute capital, the super rich individuals and corporations like Syngenta and the pharmaceutical lobby, the tobacco lobby, and especially the industry is lobbying and senates and camarates, more than 500 representatives in the United States Congress. The majority of them are corrupted by the initiatives of the ADL and APAC, who this year, according to Bernie Sanders, is going to spend $100 million or more just to take away from the career to the presidency of the United States anybody that opposes protection for Israel and change for the United States of America foreign and domestic policy. So when you have such big influence by a foreign state, in this case the state of Israel, which has prohibited in more than 30 states in the United States right now to speak against Israel, and the universities and the censorship and the ruining of the careers of two magnificent presidents of Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania, because it was against the interests of the Israel lobby to say that Palestine is being massacred. So those two presidents were removed from their positions because they dare to open a debate on why the Palestinian students have the right to protest the genocide in Gaza in the universities, and they were fired. What does that tell you, the country and the world, if not that if they talk about China and Russia as influencers or interfering in their political results, it is laughable how the United States, Canada, and Europeans still believe that the people don't know that we know that Israel have corrupt or aspects of democracy, or the possibilities for a real democracy to develop in whether United States, Canada, or the European Union for that matter, not mentioning the United Kingdom.
And they want to get rid of the Al Jazeera media because they think it's propaganda.
Of course, anything that goes against the narrative of destruction, appropriation of resources, destruction of elected governments, anything that is against the a one world order, the rules-based world order, that they have changed the world order to new rules-based world order, which is nothing but the same monster with a different dress. And it has opposition. What opposition is BRICS, but now the United States, with Antony Blinken in the influence, because you have to understand that Antony Blinken and the majority of people in charge in the United States are Jewish by heart. They come from Jewish families and they come from Jewish tradition. These guys are more Jewish than American. And when you see Antony Blinken, Sullivan, and all of these guys defending a genocide and providing weaponry to a genocidal anti-human, because you have to be no human to treat people like they are treating, with such calculated, deformed, evil, devastating ways to have fun by killing others, including the Israeli citizens, which 91% are for what is happening in Palestine, and they're already planning on buying property with beachfront side, guys, so you can have some bonfires every night, on top of the babies that have been buried underneath, on top of the women and children that have been assassinated and killed, on top of Christians, Muslims, Armenians, families that used to live there. But that's no problem. That's okay as long as it's a beachfront housing for the Jewish people. That's no problem. And they're gonna do the same with the Canadians and with Swiss and with the Europeans and with the British. The Israeli people have no problem killing you or I. It's in their rights, and it's supported by the stupidity of I can't believe that Christian people, so educated people, still support, like the evangelical Christians in America, genocide. And they do it with biblical background. But the point is, in my program, the biblical part, I explain why I don't agree with this position of the Catholic Church and the priests. And I suggest you to watch the conversation that Mr. Tucker Carlson had with a priest just a couple of days ago, a Palestinian priest that is living what the Palestinians are living now, and it doesn't help the Christian cause anyway in the Middle East. And the other thing that we don't speak about here in Canada, like not in the United States, European Union, or the UK, Australia, or New Zealand, is how is this affecting the Christian world, not only in Jerusalem and Israel, but everywhere in the Arabic world. I have covered this for years, and if you go to my programs, you will find testimony of nuns that have lived through the so-called Arab Spring, which was not Arab and it was not such a spring. It has bring nothing but disasters, the death and the assassination of important leaders of the world, the coming back to the slave times, now that you can buy black people in Libya for $200, and the migration of millions of people all around the world, and all this to protect one country of 50 million people by destroying the rest of the world of 8 billion people, because they want to control the world the way they want it, and if you oppose them, you have to kill them and destroy them. And what Israel is doing with the provocation, attacking the consulate of Iran in Syria, is nothing but a call for war. It's an act of war. And we are already in the Third World War. And the United States is very responsible and proves that the political class of the European Union and Ms. van der Leyen and all these oligarchs that have give a coup d'etat to our institutions and democracies all around the first world countries in Europe, in Canada, and the United States, we have to defeat them. We have to take them out of power, regardless of their power. And that's why I insist that our generals, our admirals, anybody and everybody in the military has to change this situation, because it's against us, it's against the country, it's against the world. It's clear that Israel has conquered the world already, and that the corruption in the United Nations, the corruption of the foreign policy of the United States, the corruption of the so-called democracies that they are supposed to protect are nothing but lies. They have been lying to us, especially since the Second World War, but this is more than 100 years in the making, and it's the ecstasy for the 9/11 of Israel, as Benjamin Netanyahu has called it.
Well, they haven't really conquered the world just yet, not until the people have something to say and do something about it.
That's a good point, and we have seen millions of people manifesting themselves, and that's why I made a program from Vietnam to Palestine, because these kind of manifestations and revolutions and calling from the citizens for peace have never worked. And this is to give the people in the Vietnam era to vindicate them for they were right. And since then we are seeing over and over and over again the lies, over lies of all the administrations of the United States benefit only one country, and that is Israel, while the rest of the world goes to hell. And what is that based off? Because the American people are, and the political class like Nancy Pelosi and all these people are stupid people that have too much power. And as Lord Acton used to say, too much power corrupts too much. And that's what happened in the United States. For me, like England and the European Union, political class, the most corrupt political class in history, in the history of humanity. I don't know if you have any questions or something else to add.
Well, why don't they just go to Mars, since they according to them, they've already conquered it?
That's right. That's another point, and that's another point that we needed to make, and that is, as I have mentioned before, as you saw my program 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers in the heavenly spaces, says the Bible. And it's true, because as you know, and if you don't, Israel has bragged about how they have friends out there in space, that is extraterrestrial interference, and that they are best pals with them, and that America and Israel knows about this and have been working together on this matter for decades now, according to Haim Esher. So it's not me saying it, it's a general that already passed away that dared to say this before he died, like giving us, the country and the world, a little bit back, because he was sick of seeing Israel and the United States so corrupted against the world in policies, in foreign policy, in conquering and taking over resources, in implementing policies of austerity, in impoverishing whole nations with the SWIFT system and the International Monetary Fund Bank, blah blah. And it begs us the question: how influential are those kind of friends that they have up there and the friends that they have down here? Because down here they have Europe, the European Union, America, Canada supporting genocide. What are the intentions then of the guys up there that are supposed to protect them too? And if that is the case, where is God in all this? If God really exists and Christians and Muslims and all these religions believe that there's some kind of dude up there that watches everything that unfolds, that sees everything we think and everything we do, and is going to condemn us to hell for disobeying 100 commandments, or in the case of the Jews, 600 laws, and in the case of the Muslims, whatever they want. What are they? Where are they? What is their position on this matter? Or is all a lie? We live in certain uncertain times, and despite this conundrum, we can see the truth by itself. And according to what we are seeing, in my opinion, in my informed opinion, is the protection of genocide and the culture of disobeying, disregarding, and destroying all accords of international law gain over 2 wars and over the centuries of disastrous wars and the consequences of the after war, and who only is the people that benefit from such events, whether economic crises or war. And that is the same institutions as always: the producers of weapons, the bankers, and the politicians. The rest of the people can go to hell, and that has to change. 21st centuries of doing the same, it's enough, and I think that it's time for us, the country and the world, to take over and replace those in government immediately. And for that we need the support again of admirals and generals who have principle in their hearts, who have courage enough not only to go to war and kill and destroy others that don't have the same power to hit back or fight back like a war is supposed to know, but to go and kill and destroy because they have the power and nobody's stopping them. That logic is going to take us to Third World War, and not only that, it's self-destructive, because the greed of the people that are behind this is that there can only be one, and only one person wants to control this world, so he can brag with his friends outside this world. Oh, I have a planet, yeah, man, I conquered it. It cost me 2,000 years, but I have it. I'm the owner of the earth. And they're gonna brag in their clubs, who knows where, like in the Sonics, debating and talking about how powerful and how pricks they are. And we need to demonstrate as a civilization that we have found the truth, and the truth have set us free. And that is that we know who is in charge of our governments. We don't want them in charge. We don't want them in power any longer. So what is the option they have once we start fighting back by electing proper people for government and for political, foreign, and domestic decisions that not only benefit the strong, like Plato said, and the super rich, but that benefit everybody else? And that is the gospel of Jesus Christ, when he was not shy to say and denounce in the temple the priests, the robbers, and people that were making money in the temple in the name of God. And that's what is happening. So now that we know, we need to react today to this matter. And thanks to your program, hopefully many people will get conscious of this and the necessity and need to vote for people with quality, with principle, with dignity, and to stay away from the sins, the capital sins that this humanity is committing against other sectors of humanity. And if we don't stop this now, because of the corruption of and the power of wealth in politics, we will devolve, and we will be destroyed if people don't react and change this on their way. That is to see the truth, and that is to be set free, is to find the political resources in order to stop this war. Again, we need the generals, the admirals, the people in charge of political security and home security to support the people, not go against it, as it has been the tradition of the powerful for thousands of years now.
I want to thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for the invitation. And as long as if you disagree with this, be respectful, please, and make your comments below. And next time we'll do a live, if you don't mind. So we might have some calls, eh?
That was Federico Molano, who is the author of
In Gold We Trust, Our Path to Eternity.
And who also has a YouTube channel that you can find, React Today, part of the World's Way Out Project, and he is also an activist, and you can find him on his YouTube channel and his Facebook page.
Yeah, the World's Way Out Project is React Today is the political arm or branch of this movement, and the World's Way Out Project is how to find solutions once we get rid of these political circumstances in which we are in. But we need to work both at the same time, because if there's something we don't have for us, it's time.
And you can also find him on Patreon as well.
Thank you. Yes, you can contribute to the channel and on Federico Molano /Patreon or the World's Way Out Project /Patreon. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Anytime.
You can also check out our other podcast, Author's Corner, through here and also through our website, Patreon, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Rumble, and YouTube as well. Thank you for joining us, and if you would like to follow us, you can hit that subscribe button and keep up to date with our next episodes by clicking on the notification button to be notified. You can find our podcast on Acast and Spotify and wherever podcasts are available. Don't forget to head on over to our website, communications-inc.org, to subscribe to our mailing list and to stay up to date with live events and our available merchandise through Patreon and our website. We are accepting donations through our website and Patreon. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we would be happy to take any suggestions in our audience. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll all see you next time here on Politics Matter.